I'm getting ready for another wedding today, and while I get ready for it, I want to talk about this girls' trip that I recently came back from just yesterday. And if anyone from that trip is watching this video, I am so sorry in advance. If anything offends you, but be assured this is not meant to intentionally offend you or hurt you in any way. It's just my personal experience and nothing else, nothing less, nothing more. And of course, I have my coffee with me. I'm actually having a simple iced coffee in almond milk, and that's all. Honestly, I came back from the trip feeling super drained for various reasons. And as much as I tried to be okay with things, I I just feel that some things did not sit right with me at all, and they never do. These are not just things that, specific to this trip, but like these are just things in general that I just cannot, accept. Things that I'm not compliant to. So, that's actually the reason why I did not record much, even though I love documenting travel. I did not record much, and I was actually not doing much. Like all of the girls, we were seven or eight of us, and we were all, everybody was doing various activities except for me. I was mostly in my room and just spending time alone because that just felt um, safer for me. And how do I put it? I just felt like spending time alone. And once again, not meant to offend anybody from that trip. Like this experience of mine doesn't mean that any of those girls were, necessarily bad or whatever, but these are just general things. So the thing that bothers me a lot about humans is how self-centered we are in general. How we are so focused on our own enjoyment that we just forget to respect nature, and just forget to we just disregard peace in general. And I don't know, how do I put it, like, because this might not be a big deal for a lot of people, but for me, like, it's a huge deal because I make sure that I behave a certain way, that I'm respecting nature whenever I'm going. But like wasting food, wasting drinks, etc., or like, just being extra is just, something that doesn't sit right with me ever. It's not like, just about this trip. It's just that this trip has, given me this push to talk about it. It's not like, specific to this trip necessarily. So humans in general, they're so self-centered, and they're just, focused on their own enjoyment, that they just completely disrespect everything else and disregard everything else, be it wasting food or like not respecting animals, or just ignoring animals. And it's so normal to just ignore animals, even if there's somebody malnourished or some hungry dog passing by. Like, it's just so normal to just ignore and pretend like they do not even exist. So that is something that does not sit right with me. Disrespecting nature, disrespecting animals. But for me, animals and nature mean the world, and it's so important for me to have basic respect for these things. And I know that most people it's not a big deal at all, and most people do not think about it. But like, that's my exact point. Why do we not think about these things? Why are we so reckless? Why are we so consumed in materialism? Why are we so self-centered that we're only thinking about our enjoyment and nothing else? Why does anything else doesn't matter when it comes to enjoyment? And another thing is that I'm vegan, and as much as I try to be okay with things, it's just impossible for me to emotionally impossible for me to sit on the same table where like non-veg food is being eaten or served. It just gets very difficult for me because I deeply care about animals, and like I said, they mean the world to me. I completely understand that I cannot expect everybody to go vegan or leave non vegetarian. And I am somebody who never pushes anybody. Obviously, like if we're talking about it, I will tell you how veganism is better because it is better. There's no, argument against vegan, a valid argument against veganism, but I know that I cannot push anybody to go vegan, and it just doesn't work like that. Even my friends who are sensitive to animals, I have tried advising them, but like whenever we hang out, a lot of my friends, they um drink their coffee in dairy milk still. And I've never even pushed them, like maybe like once or twice I've nudged them a little bit, like just try it, like encourage them to try their coffee in maybe like almond milk, or like I love my coffee in almond milk or oat milk, and I've encouraged them a little bit, but I have never forced them, never ever. Like even people who do claim to be animal lovers, or like uh, just people in general who do seem to care about animals, I've never even pushed them, like, so let alone pushing non-vegetarians. I know that it doesn't work like that. So even during this trip, people were having non-vegan food and people were having non-vegetarian food, and it was, like I said, emotionally impossible for me to sit through it. I was just pretending not to care too much, but like on the inside, like I can't even explain what I was feeling or what I feel, because at the end of the day, there's a dead animal on people's plates, people who are sitting with me, people that I'm hanging out with. So, I'm sure that at least some of you understand how that feels. People argue that it's a personal choice, but how really is it a personal choice when somebody else's life is in question and you don't have right on anybody else's body? Like, let me just ask, like, have you asked for permission from that animal to kill it and eat it and just please your taste buds? No, right? Like, so how is it a personal choice? It isn't a personal choice at all. This is oppression through and through. And how is it a personal choice when a non-vegan diet is actually the leading cause of deforestation and hence global warming? So it's affecting each one of us. I'm vegan, I'm doing good deeds, I'm being kind, but I am also suffering, and bearing the impact of a non-vegan diet and a materialistic lifestyle. So that just doesn't sit right with me. I know, like, usually people do not think about these things, but this is just who I am, this is how I function, this is how my brain operates, so I just can't help it. So it was a 2 night 3 day trip, and I realized one day prior to the day that we were supposed to check out and leave, I realized that they're going to leave late. So I called up my partner and I asked him if he could come pick me up, and before 8 o'clock in the morning he was outside our property ready to pick me up before anybody else even opened their eyes, and I was already gone. Because it's not like I said, I know that I have to repeat it again and again just to make sure that nobody from that trip, if they're watching this video, gets offended. So I have to make sure that that I remind them that it's not about them, it's just how humanity has become in general. This is not about you, it's just how things are in general. um and it's just that, why this trip has triggered me to talk about it is because, I have just isolated myself from people completely, and this is exactly the reason why, because most people are not sensitive. And it's probably not their mistake. Like, can I really blame people? Maybe not, because this is what we have trained to become, this is how things are going in the world. So it's very difficult to differentiate between what's right and what's wrong when the society teaches you to just um, and lives have become so busy, and it has become so important to, show a very rosy life on Instagram and show how much fun you're having on Instagram, that you just end up completely disregarding everything else. So yeah, I never put myself in situations where I get triggered, and that's why I've completely isolated myself, and I only mostly hang out with my partner for this very reason. But I took a trip of the sorts for probably like for the first time in my life. Not the first time in my life, but like this was definitely just the second or third trip, like with such a big group. Um, and that's why like I think I was just shown the reality of humanity after such a long time. I was living in my own bubble, and this just made me realize, how things actually are. How most people are actually functioning, and it's just saddening for me. So after the end of the trip, a list of expenses was shared in our WhatsApp group, and I didn't really spend anything during the trip. So my share was basically a contribution of the tip that they had given to the staff at the property that we were staying in. Now, personally, I do not believe in tipping culture at all. So for me, it didn't make sense to contribute for the tip, especially because I wasn't asked beforehand if I wanted to tip. Like, they just assumed that everybody would be okay. And I would have probably been okay in a normal situation. Lekin, like I said, I do not believe in tipping culture. And people who know me, they know that I'm very strict about my principles and very, like I stand by my principles basically. I'm very strict on my beliefs and everything. It doesn't mean I'm stubborn. It definitely doesn't mean that I'm always open to changing my mind. If somebody can change my mind, sure. But as of now, I do not believe in tipping culture. Secondly, wherever I go, whenever I'm traveling, I make sure that I'm carrying a lot of treats for feeding dogs on the way, community dogs, because a lot of times I find malnourished dogs, and I hate feeling helpless because you can't always stop and buy food and feed them, because literally dogs are everywhere. Like after every minute you will spot a dog, so it's not humanly possible for me to stop and buy stuff and then feed them. So I usually carry treats, or like I just boil an entire crate of eggs and carry that along. So even for this trip, I carried treats. I carried packaged treats with me, and of course I fed dogs when we were like heading to the property, the destination. And even over there, I and my roommate, who I really admire for a lot of things, by the way, she and I, we went to feed dogs during the trip as well. And then later, when my partner picked me up, we fed dogs on our way back as well. So honestly, it's not like money is growing on trees for me. So like I can either spend on animals or on humans, because both of these things are a form of seva. Tipping is a form of seva, like gratitude, and so is feeding animals. So I can either do this or that. So I did not ask anybody for contribution when I was, feeding the dogs, and I did not expect anybody to, contribute either, or like even understand why they should contribute. So I refused to pay the tip because unfortunately money doesn't grow on a tree for me in my backyard. So I can either, spend on animals or on humans. So I can either do this or that. And I felt like, I already played my part. I don't want to talk about how much I spend on animals or how much charity I do. It's just something that I do. Like my partner and I have been doing this since more than a decade now, but like I just do not like to talk about that. My close friends do know about it, but like I've never really talked about it on social media ever. Even though like I'm talking about money, and I've never talked about how much I spend on animals, but like this is probably the first time I'm speaking about it on social media. So like for the sake of it, we do have like a fixed amount going in for charity every month, which includes not just feeding the 22 to 25 animals that we feed every day, but also their medical expenses, and then their expenses for shelter every winter, every summer, because there are a lot of things involved. I don't even know where to start. We also sponsor treatments of animals when animals are being rescued by somebody with not a strong financial background or whatever. And people who cannot afford treatments but they want to rescue, we support them as well. So, like, in short, I play my part every single month. It doesn't, matter how much money is coming in a particular month. We still have like a fixed um, amount going out. And I'm not saying these things because I'm not implying that somebody pointed out from the group of girls that I did not contribute for the tip or anything. I have no idea how they're feeling about it, honestly. But I'm just saying it otherwise. I've always paid for my share everywhere, and honestly, it's not about money as much as it is about my principles. And the amount was very small anyway. I've always paid my share for everything. If we're eating out or doing whatever, I've always paid my share. I've never hesitated. And people who know me, they know this about me. So, you know, what I'm trying to say maybe is that it wasn't about money, but something deeper than that. I did let them know politely, but like I said, I have no idea how everybody else is feeling about it. I guess I'm just trying to be okay with it. At least I was just true to myself, and that's all that matters for me right now. And people who are actually close to me and people who do matter, I think they know how I am with money, so they should know that it wasn't about money at all. At the end of the day, I have to live with myself and my values. So, one thing that I did realize from this girls' trip was that I should probably not do anything similar again. Maybe a one night trip at most. I'm also in a very different phase in life. I'm the only one married in the group. And because I spend a lot of time doing charity work and, managing a household, and there's just so many responsibilities on my shoulder. And at the end of the day, it's just my husband and I living alone, taking care of so many departments, and I have no idea how we do it. So, I feel like I cannot afford to be away from home for such a long time. Even though my partner never complains, I think it puts a lot of pressure on him. He never says anything. He always encourages me to, go out, have fun. So yeah, that was my post-trip reflection. No hate to anybody else. These girls were wonderful in their own ways. Everybody was different. Everybody was wonderful. Sometimes you just realize that certain dynamics or certain environments are not okay for you, and that's okay. So what I'm doing today is a very basic peachy brown makeup look, because I'm wearing an ivory sari, which is also like very simple. It's just like a very simple mirror work sari, and I'm gonna wear it with a bikini top because I have zero blouses in my own wardrobe, zero blouses, and so many saris, but like nothing to wear with them. But like luckily I got this bikini set from Marks and Spencer recently, and the the bikini top, it just doubles up as a perfect blouse. So I'm going to pair it up with it, and hopefully it looks good because I've never tried it before. You know how there were quizzes on Instagram back then, if not quizzes really, but like just fun interactive posts, where people would ask you if you could just carry one thing in your bag, like beauty related, like one thing from your vanity in your bag, just one thing, what would it be? Or like one thing that you could use for, like you would like to use for your entire like lifetime, what would it be? And people would mostly say a red lipstick or like mascara or something of that sorts. But if you ask me, I will definitely carry a brow product, like either something to fill them in, or maybe like a clear brow gel, but like definitely a brow product, because this is where the magic lies, I feel. I don't know if it's just me, but I tend to notice eyebrows a lot. And, I have crushes on people based on their eyebrows. So that's how much brows matter to me. And I think they look fabulous today because I actually shaped them yesterday itself. Just putting a very like light rose gold on my lids, like on the inner corners. Just putting in some coal in my waterline. It's actually a bit early to get ready because I have to go there by like 8 or 9. And currently it's only 4 o'clock, but I thought I would just do my makeup because I also wanted to vlog. And like I told you last time, I don't really have like a light over here. So it was just so difficult last time when I was trying to record the getting ready part. It was just so difficult because I could hardly see what I was doing on my face. So it was a hassle. So I thought I'll just do my makeup right now. But I'll do my hair later, like behind the camera, and obviously, like I'll change clothes right before I leave. And on that note, I have thought of doing like a side swept wavy hairstyle, like that Hollywood side swept wavy hairstyle. But honestly, like I'm not obsessing over it. Like I'll just see whatever I can do with my hair. Just gonna do mascara. I love how my eyes have turned out. Just gonna do my lips now. And for the lips, you guys know I just have one lipstick and I'm gonna stick to it even today. But before that, I'm just gonna put some red lipstick and then just wipe it off, like so that I have a swipe of color underneath, and then I do the nude lipstick so that I don't look too washed out. I hate myself in dark lipsticks. I just look like a fool right now, like a clown. Okay, so now that I have a little color as the base, I'm just gonna go over with a nude lip liner followed by a nude lipstick. Not a nude lipstick, the nude lipstick, because I just have one. Love it. I wasn't sure if you guys were able to see in the mirror, so here's a close up of my look. So this is the final look, guys. I'm wearing this sari by this really cool brand that I forgot the name of, but it's a sustainable brand. I'll put it on the screen somewhere or in the description box in case any one of you wants to check it out. But this is actually my favorite sari from my Indian wardrobe, and one of my favorite pieces actually, because it's just so versatile. I have worn it at least 4 or 5 times already, and so has my mom. So the sari already has been worn at least 8 to 10 times, and that's what I love about it. It is so versatile. Like I'm wearing it with this. I don't want to say blouse because it's a bikini top actually. So I'm wearing it with this olive green bikini top. So it gives a rather, I wouldn't say casual, but it's a more toned down glam. But if I pair it up with, let's say, a shimmery blouse, this would definitely look much more glamorous. So you can pair it up with different kinds of blouses and different kinds of jewelry to create different looks each time, depending on how glam you want it to be. All I did was wear a silver watch and a pair of dangling earrings, and that's all. I am not doing anything on the neck or anything on the arms, and yeah, and I might be getting late once again, so I will see you soon.